Welcome to this webinar. We have people that are currently joining. Welcome to everyone. We want this session to be as interactive as possible, so feel free to quickly unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and see where you come from, so that we can seize a bit the audience.
Hi there.
Where do you come from, Sebastian?
I'm based on Tenerife, Canary Islands.
Cool, welcome.
Yeah, I'm using Make for many years already when it was Integromat, and yeah, I'm just interested to find out since what you are up to, since you announced this webinar already some weeks ago, and I did set myself a reminder, and
Cool.
um, I'm not sure actually what really to expect, so I'm just curious.
Cool. Welcome. You won't be deceived. You won't be deceived. Thanks. It's a great pleasure to start this discussion. Um, just waiting for the other to join. Just a small info. This webinar is recorded, but do not worry. We have a Q&A session at the end where we won't record, so you can ask your questions very freely and open the mic very freely. So please, during this webinar, feel free to ask any question in the chat, and during the Q&A session, you're free to open your mic and ask the question directly to our experts. Cool. I see other people joining. Welcome to everyone. Just waiting a few more minutes before maybe starting. We love to get to know you a bit better. Maybe we have some questions to ask, because as marketer, you know that the better you know the audience, the better, the more impactful you can be. So we have two questions that will appear in a poll that's going to be launched soon. Do we have this appearing? Yes or no? Yes, we have. So where do you currently land your leads from Facebook? Happy to see the answers. Okay, from WhatsApp, from Facebook leads as forms, makes sense. And we have a second question. Where do you currently land leads from Facebook? How many leads you have per month? Yes, great. Thanks for the answer. Oh, some have more than 500, so that's going to be interesting thoughts. Cool. Now everyone has, it's time to join. Just to quickly present our hosts. We have Omer, who's strategic partnership manager at Meta. It's a pleasure to have Omer with us. He's gonna guide you through the to maximize your ROI. And we have Daniel, who's not a solution architect, but the solution architect at Make, who's going to show you the magic of conversion APIs and Make together. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Just maybe to introduce to the session to see what's the program of this session. We'll really cover exciting topics. We're gonna understand the objective and learn how the transformative potential of Conversion API for CRM, and see how you can extract the benefits out of it. And then we're gonna deep dive into detailed use cases and see how we can integrate Conversion APIs and how they can optimize your CRM leads. And of course, Dan will provide us with a live demo for you to see the magic happening in real. And then we'll have a interactive Q&A session where you can very freely open your mic and open your question, exchange directly with our host. So really looking forward to this conversation. Omer from Meta, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say it's such a pleasure to be here today and present with Make. I've been managing Make, similar to Sebastian, who mentioned since the Integromat days. So there's a lot of history between the two companies, and it's always a pleasure to show up here and talk about our new innovation and services. So, in every presentation, webinar, there's always one key message that you'd like the audience to remember and kind of go home and think about. And I just want to say that this key message, and the one thing I want you all to remember, is to always wear a yellow shirt while watering your plants. That's so important for your quality of life. But I'm, of course, joking here. The main message is there's an amazing way to optimize for quality versus quantity. And this is exactly where we are and what together we're going to explain via a live demo and a couple of insights from Meta and Make together. In the past, I think with regards to leads and lead ads campaigns, the concept was that you always need to optimize for the maximum number of leads. And that was fine, for a certain area. But things have changed. Technology has evolved. And right now, with our technology and Make solution, there's an amazing way to optimize for the quality of the leads that you have. And that opens up a whole new space for marketeers and advertisers at the same time. In the next slide explains how you can achieve that goal. And that's through the Conversions API CRM solution that we have and Make is implemented and is offered via Make's platform. Now let's talk a bit about what Conversions API CRM is all about. I guess in one sentence, it's a direct connection between your marketing data um, and meta technologies. It connects the line and it creates a feedback loop or an optimization feedback loop that just didn't exist or maybe existed but wasn't reachable or accessible. And the way to do it is with a couple of steps. And you can see here on the slides, there are three bullets. The first one is actually establishing a connection between Meta to the CRM. It's downloading the leads that were captured on lead ads campaigns and stored in Meta and populate your CRM. This is not an easy task, but the good thing is that you have Make to automate this funnel, and with a couple of clicks just to pull your leads and populate your favorite CRM. This was here and still is for many, many years, and I think Make is one of the dominant players in the lead ad space. So most of you probably that's not really big news for you, but the news and I think the innovation and what I would like to tell you all is that there's a way also to report back on leads that got converted on your CRM. And that's exactly the CRM to Meta piece. That's the missing piece of the puzzle that is now actually feasible. By completing those two steps via Make's technology, you can close the optimization loop of lead ads, and that enables you better targeting, measurement, and optimization. I think before jumping to the next slide, it would be good to understand how is the audience here feel about lead ads? What's the current traction that you have with lead ads? Have you heard about Copy CRM? Where are you at in the development funnel? So you have Paul presented. Would be good if you take a couple of seconds to answer, and then we'll present the results and maybe discuss it a bit. We'll just give it like a couple of more seconds for everyone to submit their answers. Maybe in the meantime, I'll just say that Conversions API for CRM is not an easy integration to integrate directly. That's why we have partners in the middle, as Make, removing technical friction, and enabling, a great user experience to onboard to our solutions. Similar to Lead Ads and Conversions API for web, Make has a great offering for Conversions API for CRM. Shall we proceed with the presentation in the meantime? Oh, I can see the results now. Great. I'm sure that you can see that as well. So actually, there's a nice split here. We have third of the audience experts. Always good to have really knowledgeable folks on the call here. There are third of the audience that needs more information, and the last third is very curious about what's coming up. That's great. Okay, so this slide actually, and this is an important piece. This is like what's in it for you. Why should you care about copy for CRM? I mean, we talked a bit about the technology and the implementation and the fact that you can grab your leads, populate your favorite CRM, and at the same time report back on converted CRMs. But why does it matter? What's in it for you? So there are a couple of metrics here that we pulled. That's an average statistics based on around 300 advertisers. But you can see here two figures. One showcases the reduction or the reduce in the cost per quality lead. You can call it also CAC, it's customer acquisition cost. But basically you can see a reduction. So it will cost you less to acquire new users because by reporting back on the leads that got converted, we know how to better serve our campaigns. The second statistic is interesting, and it's not really surprising because if you close this whole optimization funnel, there will be an increase in kind of the conversion rate. We will better serve our campaigns to more suitable users, and as a result, those suitors are more tend to convert or to go to the next step in the marketing funnel. How does it work? The next slide showcases how does Conversions API CRM work. What I like to The way I like to kind of explain this is via a use case of a specific vertical that is very much relevant to lead ads. Let's take automotive, and it will be a good segue to a use case that will kind of finish my part of the story. Let's say that you're a car agency and you're running lead ads campaigns with Meta. There are two parts in this diagram. There's an kind of upper part of the page and the bottom part of the page. The upper part of the page is, you're running your lead ads. You're able to pull those lead ads from Meta and populate your CRM. Now, the bottom part of the picture was disconnected from the upper one. There was no connective tissue. Um, Imagine like those are two independent silos. But with Conversions API for CRM, this technology enables you to grab those leads that were captured through Make solution and was populating a CRM. Now you can actually grab those converted leads, report them back to our backend, that's number 5. And as a result, we will optimize our campaigns. We will know exactly what are the best audiences or the best folks to convert. Now, with the car agency example, think about a car agency that is using lead ads campaigns. They have a lot of visitors or a lot of kind of digital visitors to their page. They're submitting details, email, phone number, address. But the next step is not online, is not accessible through the web funnel. The next step is actually arriving to the car agency in person, booking a test drive maybe, taking the car for a test, and then purchasing. Now, when the purchase actually takes place, the status of the lead is modified in the CRM, and that's exactly where this technology kicks in, and Make is able to pull the lead from the CRM and report back. And the next time we will serve this campaign, we will know that those users that left their details on the lead ads campaigns of that car agency, similar users will probably be more apt to convert. So this kind of explains this whole flywheel effect. Um, and the next slide um, doubles down a bit on the differences between Conversions API for web to Conversions API for CRM. Conversions API for web has been in Meta for around 3 years. Make was one of the early adopters. It's collecting high quality leads in volume, whereas Conversions API for CRM is more focused on the quality part. And we talked about it. There are two things that it's important for you to remember. Um, it's not a prerequisite to have Conversions API for web. It's actually very much independent or not related on Conversions API for CRM. The APIs are quite similar with a very important nuance that I'm gonna talk a bit about on the following slides. But it's important to know that it's not a prerequisite. And the other piece here is that if you have integrated Conversions API for web, it's not enough to send events from your CRM. So the main message here, it's nice to have them both, but they're not really related to one another. The next slide is about house rules or like table stakes for using Conversions API for CRM. The first thing is that you have to use lead ads. That's not really surprising, where the whole objective here is to optimize your lead ads campaigns. So we are kind of basing the assumption that if you're using Conversions API for CRM, you're using a lot of lead ads campaigns. Probably your one in your business is serving customers in verticals that are using lead ads: automotive, professional services, education, banking, so on and so forth. And the second piece is that you have to generate at least 200 leads per month. This is for our algorithms to kick in and step out of the learning phase, and we'll be able to serve those campaigns, those lead ads campaigns, in a more optimized way. So those are the two house rules or table stakes that you need to keep in mind if you are experimenting or onboarding to Copy CRM with Make. The next slide has the specific nuance that I mentioned in the previous slide. The key part here is that you have to always be able to store a lead ID from the lead that was captured through a Facebook or Meta campaign and be able to report it back to us. The lead ID is the connective tissue, is the glue that enables us to match an event to a Facebook profile. The good news is that you have Make to enable that. Make is able to pull the lead and by a simple configuration to populate the lead on the CRM. And with Copy CRM, again, via a very simple UI and configuration, just to pull the lead back from the CRM once converted and send it all the way to us. So that's an important nuance that you need to remember. And of course, you have Make's technology to help you with that. The next slide, and that's my closing slide. And as promised, it's a nice use case related to the automotive business. You can see here a well-known brand, MG, is launching a new model in India with a panoramic sunroof. I don't know exactly what that is, but they had me at panoramic sunroof. I definitely want to have that car. But the main message here is that you can see the two figures at the bottom of the page, very correlated to the main message of optimizing towards quality versus quantity. And you can see more qualified leads generated. That's so important. The more qualified leads you're able to report to us, the better optimization your campaigns will experience. And as a result, of course, it will be less expensive for you or more cost effective to acquire new users. So this sums up Copy CRM, the partnership with Make. And I'm more than happy to hand it over to Dan.
Okay, thanks, Omer, for the intro. And let's now dive deeper into the technical details of how to set this up in Make. So let me quickly recap the process and let's start understanding where Make comes in or where humans comes in. Because this time, the webinar is not just about Make, but it's also about the little nuances which you need to do outside Make, e.g. In your CRM or on Meta side, okay? So let's say the process is gonna start with Facebook lead ads generating some leads, right? Like we know that, we've already said that you need to capture the leads via instant forms. And then once the lead arrives, we will need to store those leads with their IDs into your CRM or database. And obviously we are gonna use Make for that. Then eventually your representatives like AEs or BDRs are going to start working on those leads, and those leads are going to start progressing in your CRM funnel. So they are going to start changing their statuses or stages. It doesn't really matter how we call it, but they are going to be getting into different states. And whenever this event happens, you will want Make to capture that event and send it back to Facebook Conversions API for CRM to tell Meta or to tell Facebook that, you know, this lead ID just went to this stage. And once you do that for all the stages which that particular lead goes through, Meta can go and learn which leads are more likely to reach that further stage, those further stages of the funnel. So as Omer said, we are going to close the loop and we are going to tell basically Meta what is good, what is bad, and we are going to be set for the automated ad set optimization for quality. Okay, so before we dive into the actual demo, I'll be using Salesforce in my demo, but I just want you to know that on Make, we obviously don't have just Salesforce as a CRM. In fact, we are supporting over 100 CRMs. So if you go to product on our site, then to apps and services, and then you can go to CRM and sales, and then filter down to CRMs, you are gonna see that we support lots of CRMs. So even if you are not using Salesforce, which I will be using in my live demo, it doesn't really matter because the idea is always the same. And as long as you have a CRM and you are able to set some custom fields in them and capture the stage changes, you will be able to complete this process. And speaking of the process, this is how it's gonna look. So before we start, or before you start doing anything, you should set up a new custom field in your CRM to store the lead IDs which you will be receiving from Facebook. Now, sometimes you will have the admin rights in your CRM to do this, but sometimes you may need to go and ask your CRM admin to introduce this new custom field for you. It should be either like short text string or a number, because the lead ID from Facebook, it's a long number basically. Once you have the custom field in your CRM set up, we are going to create a first scenario to ingest the incoming leads. That's probably something which you already have by now, because as we said, there are tons of people actually using Make to ingest the incoming leads into their CRMs. So once we have that first scenario, you will be also asked to create a new meta pixel to receive specifically the CRM events, which will be sent to Meta by Make. So that's done in Meta's UI. Then after that, we will create a second scenario, which is going to start monitoring the lead status changes, those events, and start sending them back to Meta, right? And then in real life, you need to wait for something like a week or maybe 10 days for Meta to learn about your leads, right? So that's the learning phase, which Omer has mentioned. And once the learning phase is over, you will be able to finalize the lead funnel in Meta, where you will basically tell Meta how the leads are progressing in the ideal scenario. And by that time, Meta already knows which leads made it to which stage, and therefore it already knows which lead is good or bad. And then once you finalize the funnel in Meta, you are going to switch the ad set optimization to the conversion leads option instead of the current maximize quantity of the leads, right? So this is very important. Actually, once we are done, you can't forget this step, because otherwise all the previous steps would not be really useful, right? Like you have to do this stuff to switch the ad set optimization to start optimizing for the quality. And once you do that, you of course should monitor the result and see, what's happening. And I guess that's going to take a few weeks, you know, to see some improvements, hopefully, in your campaign performance. All right, so enough talking. Let's head to Make and to Meta. Let me start showing you how the whole process could potentially look like. So I'm gonna escape the presentation, and here I have a very simple scenario, which is gonna be ingesting my leads from Facebook lead ads, okay? As I said, in this case, for this webinar, the scenarios actually are not that hard. They are very straightforward, and it's more about the context and more about the things which you need to do outside Make. So let me fire a sample lead, and I'm gonna use Facebook lead ads testing tool for that. So on this URL, after you log in into your Facebook account, you can actually create test leads, which is very helpful when you are developing new scenarios, and I use it basically every week. So if you did not know about this tool, that's a hidden gem for developers like me or for Make professionals. So I'm gonna be generating a test form for my testing page, and I've selected test form version 2, and I can even go and preview the form, and I can see what the form is asking for. So I will set some random company co and job title. Of course, I'll be CEO. I will keep this random email, and I will say I'm Dan Drost. Okay, and the moment I hit continue here, this scenario is gonna pick it up, and new lead is gonna be created in Salesforce. So let's just do that. So now, hopefully the lead is gonna arrive, and we are gonna see some action. Let me see. Was it submitted? Okay, okay. Maybe because the page was opened for a long time, the execution was not shown in real time, but it happened in the background. Let me check. Yeah, it did. You see, it's 5:27 here, and the execution was processed silently behind the scenes. So let me just quickly open it, and let's see what happens here. So this is the module. This is the new lead module from Facebook Lead Ads, which just captured the lead. And when we open the output of the module, we want this, right? We want to get this lead ID and store it to our CRM somewhere. But before we dive into the CRM part, what's this? Like, what is this doing here? So let me quickly explain, and let me open the diagram. And I am sure that probably nobody on the webinar knows that it's also a very good practice to confirm the lead reception to Meta as soon as you receive the lead. And for that, you are going to use Facebook Conversions API app and the send events module within it. And the module configuration looks like this. So for the event ID, you can simply use the lead ID. The event name would be lead. Event time would be simply now, because that's when you receive the lead. The action source is system generated. And here at the bottom, you are gonna map the lead ID. And that's how you are gonna tell Facebook, hey, all good, you know, we got the lead. And then Facebook knows that it was received, and it can use this information in the optimization efforts. And once you do that, you are, of course, going to need to create a new record in your CRM. So in my case, it's Salesforce. And here I am simply, you know, mapping the last name of the lead, the first name, title, company name, and the lead ads ID, which is the centerpiece here. So if I go to Salesforce now and I refresh my page of leads, I should see myself. Okay, so there's a new lead from random company. So if I enter the lead and go to the details, we are gonna see that these were the details which I filled out, right? It's all good here. And this is the lead ID, which we stored into the custom field. So when you are creating custom fields, it really needs to be a custom field. Like, don't try to save this information into a note or into an activity or into some like unstructured record, because we will need to retrieve this lead when the lead starts changing the statuses. Okay, so that was for the first scenario. As I said, it's very simple, very straightforward. A lot of you are probably doing this, but you were not probably doing this step in the middle, and I would highly suggest you start doing that as well. But now let's get into the more interesting part. So for that, we are gonna have the second scenario, and this is the scenario which is monitoring for the lead status changes in Salesforce. And now you can see that I kind of have like two scenarios here. one here and one here. So let me first run this and let me just demonstrate it actually works. And then we are going to dive into the details, like why there are like two possible options and why this one is the better one. So if I go to here and I'm going to start changing the statuses, we are going to see the scenario is going to pick it up and it's going to send it to Meta. And here in the output of the module, we are going to see what we sent. So we are going to see we sent the lead ID, and we are also going to see that we sent the event name, which was the status, right? Working contacted. If I change the lead again in Salesforce, and I do like pending contract, so, you know, we call them, they are good, they are happy, and they want to sign with us to buy whatever we sell, then it's going to go eventually to this pending contract stage or status, and Make is gonna pick it up and it's gonna send it to Meta again, right? So in this case, we send that event and it's pending contract. And as the lead is progressing, it would automatically be capturing, you know, Make would be capturing those events and it would be sending them to Meta. Now, let me go to Make and let me start explaining how I achieved that, particularly with Salesforce, because itself, that use case is kind of interesting. So in Salesforce, you basically have two options. You can basically watch records with this module, which is a polling module. So every minute, every 5 minutes, every hour, you would watch for changes, and then you would capture the change with the standard module and send it to Facebook Conversions API. But here, in my case, I've introduced this webhook-based logic while having like 5 modules. So why is that? Well, if you think about it, as an advertiser, you want to capture all event or all lead changes, right? Not just some. And if you are using these watch modules, they are always going to give you just the last stage of that or last status of that lead. And it is possible that if you are not watching frequently enough, that you will miss some of those lead changes, right? But when you use webhooks, which are real time, you are always going to capture all the changes of that lead, right? You are going to capture all the statuses, all the events. So you're not going to miss anything. So that's why I recommend, whenever there's an option to go with the webhook-based approach, you are going to be guaranteed that every single lead stage or deal stage or whatever you are measuring and monitoring is going to be captured. With the polling modules, which only run per set schedule, it is not guaranteed. Okay, so always go for the webhooks when you can. And now, speaking of the Salesforce solution here, I am basically running an outbound message in Salesforce. So I have configured in my Salesforce instance these outbound messages, and this is how it looks. So basically, I generated a webhook URL within Salesforce, and I am passing the ID of the lead and the status, which was just set for that particular lead. And this message is triggered whenever this workflow within Salesforce is executed. So there is a workflow which I built, which is lead stage changes to Make webhooks. And basically it's monitoring for situations where, you know, someone clicks this ribbon and then marks it as complete. So this workflow in Salesforce is going to pick it up, you know, whenever the record is updated or created within that particular status field. And then it's going to execute that outbound message and Make is going to receive it to this module. And now when you open it, it's going to look very ugly. You know, this is not something nice to work with. So we need to parse it with this module. But before we do that, you need to also respond back to Salesforce and tell them, hey, Salesforce, all good, we got the lead. Because if you don't do that, the same notification would be coming over and over. And obviously, you don't want to send that same event over and over to Meta. So you need to acknowledge the reception of the message by passing this XML. We can, you know, attach this into our like post-webinar communication if you are interested. So this is solving the notification part, and then we simply map the message from Salesforce, and now it's going to look very familiar to you. So here you will see the notification, and it's going to tell you, hey, this, you know, lead ID was changed, and sorry, this lead ID was changed. This is just the ID of the notification, I believe, and this is the status. So based on this ID, I'm going to retrieve all the details about that particular lead, and I'm going to see that, you know, this lead ID has, what are we after? Of course, we are after this Facebook lead ads ID, right? And this lead ads ID, if it exists, I have this safety filter here. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna send it to Meta with Facebook Conversions API for CRM app via the create a lead event module, right? And the event name is gonna be the latest status or latest stage from Salesforce. The time, again, is gonna be now, right? Because it just happened, it's all webhook based. And of course, we need to map that lead ID, which we retrieved from Salesforce. And here we are just label the source as, Salesforce via make. It just needs to be something which makes sense to you because you are going to be able to see it in Meta's interface. So now imagine you've been sending the lead event changes, like this for a week or for 2 weeks maybe, and you need to finalize the funnel in Meta. So to do that, you will need to go to the events manager. And you can see here that I have already created my pixels before the webinar, so I can actually show it to you for real. But if you did not have the CRM specific pixel, which I have mentioned, you can basically create a new pixel by going here. Sorry, you need to go to, I believe, data sources. And there should be a way to create a new pixel somewhere. Let me check. Custom here by connect data sources. The UI always changes, so it's a bit hard to me to find it. And here you will just select CRM, and then you will have your pixel ID, which is needed when creating the connection in Make. So I have created this pixel before, and you can already see that today, I did some testing, obviously before the webinar, and the pixel was able to capture these statuses from Salesforce. And you see how nicely it is presented. Whatever the status is here, you can see it in Meta, and this lead event, that's the initial event which we sent after the reception of the lead. Okay, so these guys are coming from Salesforce, this, and this event is just the simple acknowledgement of the lead reception. Okay, so once you are seeing these events coming in for a long time and you are generating enough leads, then you will go to the settings tab here. And this is where you finalize your sales funnel. So again, I did it before, so now I don't start from scratch, but I'm just modifying. All right, so I'm going to modify. I'm going to show you how it actually looks if you start from scratch. So here I'm going to navigate to this step. Let me just go back. Okay, so once Meta receives enough events, they are going to present you the stages which were received, and you are supposed to order them in the order in which they happen in your CRM. So you can see that this is open, not contacted, working, contacted, pending contract, contract signed. And this is how it's happening, in Salesforce for me. I'm not actually doing even the converted event because I know when the contract is signed, it's kind of good for me and I'm not like sending it. But of course, you could continue with more statuses or more stages as you wish. And once you reorder the positive stages, you can also decide which stages are not so good for the funnel creation. So, I've removed the lead event, I've removed some previous testing. And now I told Meta, how it looks in the ideal world. And on the next phase or in the next page, you are asked to tell Meta what stages you want the ads to be optimized for. So here is the decider, right? This is the crucial step where you tell Meta, hey, this status is good and this one is good. And then Meta will try to find the audiences, or it will be showing the ads to people who are more likely to reach these stages as they progress through your CRM. And once you make this selection, you hit finish, your funnel is finalized, and then you will go to your ad account, and you of course need to do that last step. So you will open the ads manager and you need to switch the ad set optimization to conversion leads from the existing quantity-based optimization. So if I go to the campaign and then I open the ad set configuration, here at the top, you are asked to set your performance goal, right? And previously you would be using maximize number of leads, but you want to switch it to this value, maximize number of conversion leads, AKA, good leads or quality leads. And that's basically how you close the loop, going from, quantity to quality, right? So I hope this makes sense. I do understand that it's a lot of process, it's a lot of steps outside Make. It's the way it is. You know, we said it's not going to be easy, but I believe with this webinar, you now have a good grasp of, you know, what you are supposed to do and how to configure the process, you know, what are the limitations, etc. Now, if I go back to the presentation, let me just run a quick summary. So as we said, you must be capturing the lead IDs, right? Like it must be a standard custom field into which you store the lead ID so you can take the value from the field later when the lead starts changing the statuses. Don't forget to create a new pixel for the CRM events. It's better to have it separately. Don't send the events into the existing web pixel, which you probably have. Make sure that you capture all status changes of each lead. So that means that whenever possible, go for the webhook-based modules and don't use watch modules if you have a choice. And of course, once you are done with the funnel configuration and all that, don't forget to change the optimization to conversion leads on the ad set level where you want the ad sets to be optimized for quality. Okay.